So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am a few minutes early, and that is just cool, because that's better to be early, and I can clear some of the mess and have a drink, and we'll wait and see who is able to join us this morning. It really isn't a problem. So I can see people coming in. Comments haven't arrived yet, so I can't see who you are, but that's lovely to see that I'm not on my own. I shall just wait a few more minutes because my computer says it's not quite 10 o'clock, and I did say to everyone that it would be 10 when I went live in the group, so that or on my page, so that's absolutely fine. Let's pop that cup of tea on the floor out of harm's way, and then we can go from there. Good morning, Anita. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm assuming that Facebook has stuck a notification in for people. Hello, Agnieszka. Thank you so much for joining us from Ireland. I hope you're well. And you had a good Mother's Day yesterday, as I think it was Polish Mother's Day yesterday. There were some beautiful, beautiful pictures online of Polish ladies that I'm friends with sharing time with their equally stunning children. So that's always good, isn't it? Good morning, Claire. Thank you for joining me. Hello, Jill. And good morning, Anthony. I, as many of you might know, have had a bit of a chaotic and hectic week. I travelled down to Create and Craft and did a TV show on there. Then came back late on Tuesday and had to go to the dentist on Wednesday. Never a great thing to do, is it? And then went off and spent some time with a friend yesterday. So I've put some bits and pieces together. Again, it's another product-based show rather than a project-based show. Thank you, Jill. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. I hope that the combination of that show and the live I did the other day on crafting together with all brands has been a helpful thing for people. Please feel free to share this video to your groups or your own pages. As I say, this is a knowledge base rather than a project-based DVD live today. So I'm teasing with showing with hearts with crackle on. Yeah, I'm using these as a base for texture, but I will share the secret because it's another one of my favourite products in both the white and the black. So it is just gone. Let me show. I've got sound. We go. Let's turn the sound off on my phone, and I forgot to turn notifications off, so that was not helpful. So if it bings, we'll ignore that. And I apologise, that's not very professional of me, is it? But never mind. So we're going to be playing with these products today. I've got some in the older packaging. These are the Lasur gels that are sold by Pentart, and they've got lots and lots of different uses. So, and they come in lots of colours. I don't have all of them, but we'll use the ones that we have got. As you can see, I've got a reasonable selection. For some reason I don't have the bright red. I wonder why. It's not really my favourite colour. And I have got out the she says the Lasur liquids, as I know some people might well have these and it might be helpful for them globally. And let me just swap my monitor so I can see more about what's going on. That's better. So, because the Facebook feed, of course, is out of sync with actually what I'm doing. So here we are. So I've got a collection of these, and I have got those in some of the brighter colours. Good morning, Tamara. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for a lovely evening on Monday. So as you can see, I have, these are just the tags actually that I used the other week, waste not, want not, and I may or may not use the fronts of them for projects at some point, or backs of them depending on what we're going. Good morning Sheila, thank you for joining me. So how have I done these bases, because that's always a good start, although it's not the focus for the live itself. Good morning Margaret. I have used these products for my bases. I often use these actually on canvases and on MDF to blur edges of things, and I think it's a fabulous product for adding lots of different texture, and oh so simple to use. So this is the Pentart cracking paste in white and black, and all you need to do is take your base, which you can, you can have coloured if you want to or not, depending on the look you're going. I didn't. I've just put my paste straight onto my blank MDF, and then once that it goes on white, she says, so this colour, and it dries clear. Let it dry. You can heat dry it, don't bubble it. Then I've applied a layer of the crackling paste, the white for the white crackles and the black obviously for the black crackles, and just let them dry. If you will get slightly different effects if you heat dry them, and if you have a thick layer of paste you get nice big cracks, and if you have a thinner layer of paste you have thin much smaller cracks, which is always a cool thing. So you've got some control over what you do. I put this on with a palette knife and just smeared it out across my surface, but it will go on with a paintbrush if that's what you prefer. So what are lasurgels? Well, lasurgels are water-based products that are translucent, and they're quite gloopy. So if I just get a little bit out on a spatula, they are, as I say, quite gloopy, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, so that's what they're like, and they come in assorted colours. This is ebony. We've got a cream, pale blue, country rose. I'm not sure I like that one, and you'll see why later. The green I do like, the blue I like, and assorted browns, and as I say, there is a bright red, but I've not got that one. So it's I think most people will know these for actually using on almost as a wood stain. So I've got a little wooden box here, and I'm just going to splodge this on different areas so that we can see the different colours. Let me just unlid some of these. And the beauty of these is that you can see through them, so you can see the texture, and this is really, yeah, so this is the first, and I guess the most usual use for these products. Let's layer the browns together, and there's lots of browns and the black in the system because it's primarily, one of the primary uses is almost as a wood stain. There we are. Let's lift off that. As you can see, they are open. They have all been opened. They're not one of my go-to products. Good morning Margaret, good morning Joan, and good morning Dee. What a lovely thing for you to join me this morning. I know that mornings are not your best time of the day, so let's just put those over the way, and I'm not going to worry too much about closing today because the conservatory actually isn't that hot, thank heavens. So this is the black, and if I put it on, it's actually more of a soft grey colour, and I think you can see here, if I used an acrylic paint on this wooden box, then you wouldn't see that colour. So that's the primary reason for the difference for them, and they are fairly permanent. So let me put that one on there, and you can blend them, and again you can see here, and as it sinks in, as it dries, you will see the wood graining effect coming through even more. So if we turn that around, so that's actually the country blue. Let me grab a baby wipe. I'm not obviously going to put the white onto here. This is the green, which is a very soft colour. So again, it's quite nice. This is the pink, and it's not, as I say, it is pink, but it's not my favourite pink in the world. So it depends on the look that you're looking for. I won't put the white on, but we have got a collection of so how do they differ? These ones don't wipe back off, Anthony. The antiquing gels are designed to be water-based. These are water-based, but these are designed to be permanent, and you can't wipe the surface back. So that is she says, having taken the lid off it, that's not right. One of the browns, it's probably the chestnut, could be. We've got a darker brown here, and I think there might be a yellow as well, more pine. So you can see that you've got the three browns. So if you're wanting to make faux mahogany or faux pine, or lots of different shades of wood, then these work. The three browns work really well, and of course you can mix in on the surface the black. So used like this, they are will work really well as a wood stain. Claire, yes, absolutely, but that's not their only use, because you can wipe them back like the antiquing gels. The colour range is wider and different, so I guess you pay your money, takes your choice, and use the product that works best for you. So that's what these are. So I love the blue and black. Surprise. They are lovely, and the blue and the black, they do work very well together. And where I've layered the blue on the black, you've got a slightly different tone. And once this layer is dry, and I haven't got it out, which was a bit of an umpty of me actually, you can then stencil another colour on the top of them. Just bear with whilst Brain of Britain grabs a stencil, because why would you not have a stencil out? So clearly we've got black and blue on there. If I just pop that stencil onto there, perhaps I won't pick it up with a dirty cloth, but if you then pick up say some of this, the white, you can then layer and stencil over the top. So I'm just going to pop it into a sponge dauber, because I might not end up with a muddy mess, and I might not end up with splodges, because I'm not very good at getting stuff under. Okay, so if I do this, they will layer, so the base layer dry underneath. So now I've got a shabby distressed effect on top of my stained wood, and that will sink back a little bit. So you can use them as a wood stain, you can use them to stencil through. Let's tuck that out of the way. So I think that's two good uses, lots of different colours and mix them up, and that's probably more the way that they were intended to be used by the person who asked Pentart to make them in the first place, which will have been one of their design team, because they ask us what we like and what would we like and what we think are missing from their project range, and then bit by bit over time they go on to develop their products. Sheila, that stencil is lovely. It's very, very pretty. The whole stencil does have a bird tucked up at the top, and as you can see, mine is well loved, and this one comes from Stamperia Garden of Promises collection. So if I pop that one out of the way, so wood stain, single colours, mixture colours, and as a stencil, so I think that's quite good. Now the way I very often use them is in a way not so dissimilar to the antiquing gels that I used the other day, to highlight texture. Now some of these are going to show beautifully on the black, and some will show better on the white, so bear with me. So if we're wanting a wood stained effect, you can see that you get coverage but unlike a paint, it doesn't clog up all of the holes, so you've still got the full depth of the crackle. And like the antiquing gels, if you don't want so much, you can wipe it back. It doesn't wipe back as easily. It always leaves a stain. With the antiquing gels, you can completely take it off the surface in areas if you want, but it doesn't really do that when with these. So that let me just rematch the lids. So that's the chestnut, I think. And then we might actually, that's the palisander because it's darker, and then we're minus a lid. Okay, we'll worry about that later on. Aha, walnut. There we are. So if we grab the darkest of the browns and pop it on next to it, so you can take these back as far as you want, but it won't. I find that you cannot, no matter how hard you work, take the whole lot, everything. And you can see that you get a brighter colour with these on this white background than you would do on the wood itself. And this is the brightest of the colours, almost orangey in undertone, and would make a good base perhaps for rusty combinations. There we are. So you can see it, unlike the antiquing gels which wipe back really easily, these I can't lift that all off the surface. You lift more or less like the antiquing gels depending on how wet they are. Okay, so the brightest of the browns will definitely work on the dark colour, and it's going to fill in all of the cracks because I'm deliberately pushing it into the cracks. And I can see here that I've got a browny tone on the top that softened that black, but still left me with my black undertone. I'm not going to do the others because it's a very similar type of effect with those colours. But we are going to pick up the white, swap that brown one out, and use some of the paler colours. So common sense would decree that the ivory is going to show really well on the black, but not so very well on the white. And again, I'm pushing it into the gaps, so you can see that you've got the contrast on top and you've got a layer over the top. Let me just wipe it back a little bit, and I think that gives a really effective look. Good morning, Stacey. Don't worry about being late, it will be saved, and I'm sorry you had a bad night, and I hope you're feeling better this morning. So obviously the white works on the black to give contrast, and the black is going to work well on the white to give contrast. Let's just move those out of the way, find a clean piece of baby wipe. And remember, the other thing I did with the antiquing gels is I actually used a soft cloth that was damp. I didn't use a wet baby wipe, and these are wet. They're coming straight out of the packet, so you lift them slightly differently. And here you've got that beautiful grey tone from the ebony Lasur. So let's have a little look at the blue. I know that someone said that they like the blue, so let's pop these. And they're soft colours, and as I say, they don't clog up the cracks, so because they're thin compared to if you added acrylic paints of these to give unless you watered them right down, then you clog up your cracks. So here we are. So there's the blue. And I think the blue is pale enough so it will show on the black. I have got another black tag conveniently over here. So this is about knowing your products, knowing your backgrounds. You could just as easily do these on a crackled dark brown background. Anything where you've got contrast or where you want to add a more aged effect will work just absolutely fine. We've got the green, which, as I say, is a beautiful vintage soft green. So, which I particularly like, but I'm definitely a greens person, not a pinky person, and that might be why I don't particularly like the pink version very much. Partly because I think it's more pinky brown than a true pink, if that makes sense. So on there, so the paler colours will show up, but you can still see the black behind it because they are, as I say, translucent, and that's what they're designed to do. And that's the pink. Rather than muddying that one, we'll take a clean cloth and just wipe back. And so these are wet baby wipes. There we are. And they're on here. So you add as you want to get the effects that you want. So you know, you could use some toning. I actually quite like this mix with coming across them, particularly on the black. I think if I was using the white, I'd probably stick to just one colour, but that's personal preference. And anyway, these was intended as a you know, to show what you can and can't do with the products as you want to. And I've done colour mixing before, so we're not going to do that. Now then, what have I got here, I hear you asking? I have a mould. This has been made from basically a powder, so it's a bit like cement, and moulds made from cement or ceramic powders or modular powders don't need to be primed if you're using ordinary paints. And I think that you might like the looks of these when it's painted. I find that when I'm adding paint to stuff, I tend to get brush marks. Maybe that I'm not very good at painting, but that's what I tend to get. So let me just add this onto here, and these will wipe back off here. Remember, with the antiquing gels, I used them onto painted surfaces. I didn't use them onto an unprimed surface because they don't lift off very well if you do that, and that's not their intention. But here you almost get again, I've got a wood colour, so I'm going to get a faux wood effect, but I'm not going to get, I don't seem to get lines and mixtures and colours, and they cover absolutely beautifully, and it will soften, the colour will soften down. I'm just going to pick up the darker one and mix it on here. I might not, again, I wouldn't necessarily do that if I was doing a project, but each to their own and how they like to work. So there we are. So we'll mix the two colours, and they sink in, so the darkness of that paint, of the gel, becomes much softer. So if I pop it on here like that, and then we just watch that area, I will spread it out a bit, but as they sink into the surface, a bit like when they sink into the wood, they change their colour and they become a bit softer. There we are. Let's just do that, and then we're going to give them a good rub, and it takes quite a lot of effort, I found, to shift them off the surface of these, whereas the ceramic powder, whereas the antique powders worked really well. Stacey, where do you start? I think you have to find a technique that you like, and then order the products around that technique. And I know I'm actually having to push quite hard to lift this off the surface. It will lift, it will soften. I think very much depends on what you want to do, what products you like and what you want to do. If you like crackles, then some of the most favourite products from Pentart are the fine line crackle that I had on air on Tuesday, and it may well have come off the website, but if you check, it might not have done, because it was all in the country, so they may be planning some craft extra shows. So it does their back, and I think you can see that it softens in, and this has got a slightly shiny surface in real life compared to adding them over onto resins and things. It doesn't stick to resin in its own format, but does but will quite happily adhere reasonably robustly to the modeler pastes and powders, the ceramic powders. Good morning, Karen. So at this point I've got two-tone, and if I wanted to add some more colour to this, once this is dry, and it's not too bad to be fair, I can add a contrast. So if we pick up some of the white and just sloshel it up round quite happily, we'll add some white over the top, and you think, oh my god, what a mess are you making? And that's fine, because I agree with you, it does look a bit like a mess, and squish it into all of the gaps, and then grab your cloth. You can then mute all of these colours down and just leave it in the recesses. So you can use these on, you can manage to use them on air dry clay if you want to. So let me lift this off, and now, although I've got two base colours from here, and I've now got the white highlighting and catching in all of the edges. So I was saying that, Stacey, if you like thinking about exploring the Pentart products, then I would suggest that the favourite products are the fine line crackle and also the universal crackle. Let me grab the universal crackle. So this is done with the universal crackle. So a clear gel. Paint the bottom surface underneath, add a layer of the universal crackle, and then add a contrast colour over the top. This one has been done by daubing with a sponge to get this sort of very random effect, and this more linear effect over here is been done just by applying it with a paintbrush. So pick the style you like and go for it, for the effect that you want. So now I've got a very aged effect, and if I want to add anything else, then I can of course add waxes over the top of it. They will adhere perfectly happily. So we've used them as a wood stain, we've used them to fill in cracks, we've used them almost as a paint for these pieces. This one I've used different browns, and I use blue in the back as my contrast colour, and some green. So again, it's about getting used to your colours, knowing what you like, and then mixing and matching them to your heart's content. And the effect is lovely, and I don't think you get this as by layering ordinary paints, watered down paints, or even the antiquing gels. It is a slightly different effect with these. So that's those. So what else have I got? I have got a frame here. Now this one has been cast from resin, and the lasurgels don't stick to resin. So this has been painted already with a layer of gesso, and you can see then you can get your cover that you want. Now I might want a plain brown there. This is a wooden door, brown background there. Seems to work for me, but of course it doesn't have to. Squish that all into those. Needs a little bit of a dry, so let me just check up on where we're up to. I will grab my heat gun because that gives that a dry. As I say, this isn't about complete projects today. So there we are. And you can see that you take your colour from the pot, which is this dark brown, and by the time you've layered it in a thin layer, actually how much it's lightened. Is that okay? So let me just do that. And they dry really quite quickly. And then I'm going to add some dark over the top. So this is about building and layering your colours, and I might want the darker colour to sit more into the recesses. So if I just wipe it off the top, and I've now got in effect a much more faux wood effect just by adding those colours. If I wanted, just think I might add a little bit more into there, and if I give that a dry, so you see each colour below the one that you put on because they are translucent, and that's one of the huge advantages of them. They're great big pots, they're 100ml pots, so they will last you a long time. I'm not using very big quantities of them, as you can see, and I'm deliberately left some areas here thicker around the woodwork, so I'm building my colours to get the effect that I want. So as I say, you could use the browns and the blues if you wanted to give a semi rust effect. They're not designed as a rust effect, and the blue is definitely not having, you don't have a true yellow in here, so it is about layering them. So if I add some blue over the top because I want to change my colouring up a little bit, and I'm not going to lift the whole of that. Stacey, these are generally water-based products, so you don't have to work in a well-ventilated area at all. So you can see, even though that was wet, and I've got freshly put on, and I've got a completely wet baby wipe as opposed to a damp cloth, it's not lifting everything, and now I've got a layered old wood door with areas of peeling paint. So it's about the effects that you want to achieve with what you're doing. So great for mixed media, but many of us are not just mixed media, are we? We cross lots and lots of different genres when we're making, and so you might have lots of distressings in your stash, but one of the things with distressings is that they are water reactive, and I've just got a little spatula and a piece of cut and dry foam that you can wash out, and I'm just going to pop that here. So one of the things that you can do is you can make yourself your own backgrounds without the necessary to have separate products, and they layer, and you can take on top, and you can add another layer over the top of those, and you can use them as you want to this way to add ink to the edges of your papers if you've distressed them. So they will also work as inks and paints. Sorry for mixing up that pink with that. So you create your own background, and these are layering on top of each other. Now I wouldn't necessarily use those together like that, but I can take my stencil, doesn't have to be a wooden item, okay, and then add some more colours. I might go for a contrast colour at this point, so let's actually go for, I'm actually going to go for the dark brown, which is a palette, walnut or palisander. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop this through, and I'm going to get quite a subtle effect because we're creating a background with these products, but it just for me adds an extra layer of detail, and it works really effectively. Of course, you don't need a background, you can literally just use them to create through your stencil, and they work beautifully. So I think that's quite a good use advert for these, and they will be permanent once they're dry. So unlike your backgrounds that you might have done with your distress inks, then if you get them wet, you'll carry on lifting the colour. That doesn't happen with these. And it's about just thinking about what else can I do with my products? How can I make my hard-earned money work for me? Can I use my stuff to do other things? Same cut and dry foam. Just tap it on as you would an ink onto a stamp, and they stamp beautifully. Good morning, Julie. Thank you for watching. There we are. Can you dry brush with them? Well, now you're asking a question that, as usual, Anthony, that had I thought about. Well, let us see. Is that like challenging me? Is that asking me whether I can dry brush with them? Is that one dry? That is dry. So I've got a natural bristle brush here. It's what I always use for dry brushing, and I've pushed it in, and the answer is yep, they will work as a dry brush, highlighting your details. They will soften back in because that's the nature of them, but yes, you can dry brush with them perfectly well. Good morning, Sarah Lou. It's not a problem. The video will be saved. As I say, I thought I would again concentrate on a product range that people might have got some of, parts of, not explored, and actually just go through some different techniques. So as you can see, I'm not going to keep you online for very long. We'll just recap. So these act as a wood stain, and then you can stencil over the top. So once they're dry, add your stencil, and you don't mix the colours. And we've got the different colours and the different shades of brown. And now this is dry, you can see how the edges merge together. We've used them to paint and wipe back to highlight crackles. So if you've done a project with crackle, don't like the base crackle colour underneath, then you can push colour in on the top. If you don't want an umbre or to get out the oil-based antiquing paint waxes, then you can, or gels, you can do that, and you get lots of different colours. Why have I got the unwashed one up there? Here we are, the two different colours. And we've got a reasonable good range of colours in soft muted antique tones. We've used them on to add colour to ceramic moulded pieces, and also onto gessoed resin. So you're building up the processes. If I just bear with me while I lid these, and I will grab the Lasur liquids and use the rest of that box, which won't be wasted. I will be able to rescue my wooden box and make it cohesive, but I might well end up having to add a layer of primer and then paint it rather than using the Lasurs on them, but that's fine, not a problem at all. There's the walnut. I think that's round the right way round. The browns are quite difficult, so let me grab that and that and those. And so finally we've used them as you would your inks, edging, making your background, stenciling and stamping. So for me, that is a lot of different things that you can do with one product, making them, you know, worth the money in your craft room. So here we are. Now these ones inconveniently have the same name on them, Lasur, but they are in a different pot, as you can see quite happily here. And I may have all of the colours, I might not have. Okay, and these are liquid, so they are definitely not to be squished on a work surface, because there will be one veritable mess if I just do that, because they'll spread everywhere. So let me just grab some of it. Now, the browns are definitely water fast and could go outside, that little lot. The bright colours are not permanent if you stick them outside in the garden. So we've got some surfaces here. So, and these very much are designed as wood stain, though you can make a faux leather effect. That will be for a different day, and you can also do faux crocodile skin effects as well. So where can we get these from? Anthony is saying. So currently I think it's quite difficult to get Pentart products in the UK. That's because I think one of the bigger shops is gradually shutting down. The lasurgels though are all in stock at That's Crafty at the moment. The liquids are not. So you can see that that these are runny. They are very definitely liquids, and this is that says it's the walnut, so maybe I would mix it up, and just how wet they are. And we'll sink in. We've got ebony, which is, she says, with a dirty brush, so that's never good, is it? Here we are, we'll pop that in. So I think you get more colour depth with the gels. You can see how pale that is compared to the darkness here. Yep. We do have a nice yellow though in this range. It's called Pine. Let me get the white off that. So again, so it really is a yellow, which makes your colour mixing really easy, because you have also a red, and I think there is a blue in this, and this is the chestnut. So my preference, you can see, I think the chestnut and the walnut, if I picked up the right one. I might not have picked up the right one. Let me just double check. No, I didn't. So those two are chestnut, this is walnut. So you've got different shades and tones of your browns and your ebonies, and they will layer and go over if I cover that little lot. So you've got colour variation, and I want a bit more darkness over here, so I can take some of that, and they'll add on top of each other quite happily and sink in, and you build your colour. I think my main use of these would be for faux leather effects when they work really well, and for faux crocodile with a bit of judicious stenciling for added texture. But we do have the right. Sheila Daly does have Pentart products, but having been onto her website recently, she's got lots of gaps in her stock, so I'm not sure what's happening there, but I do know that they're all in stock on That's Crafty. Well, the gels are. You might be better with the liquids going to Daly. And I think it's worth having a hunt around, because there are so many products in the Pentart range. I think for a lot of the UK shops, it's now almost impossible for them to have all of them in stock. You know, on the basis of being completely fair to everyone, you know, there are some. Dawn Bibby has some on her website, so that's that pink, and it really doesn't show up brilliant, you know, a lot of difference on there. And then we've got this bright orange, so Dawn Bibby has some on her website. Leanne at Mad Archers has some on her website. So I think it is going to be a question of hunting around bit by bit. Over the months, I will sort of bring some of these different mediums in. I'm just adding some of the ebony to here. You can see that you get a very different effect, I think, with these liquids. And as I say, they wouldn't be my preferred choice now. If I was wanting to stain wood, they work perfectly well, but my preference nowadays would absolutely be the lasurgels. But for, as a faux crocodile, faux leather, then I would use some of these liquids, because that, for me, they work a bit better for that technique. So from that point of view, they also, Jill, on that crafty page, they also have Pentart wax paste, transparent, on the same page. So it depends on what you want to do. If you want to protect that, now and Anthony hasn't been primed to ask these questions, ladies, before anyone goes getting any ideas that we're working in cahoots. Let me find a brush that's moderately cream crackered. So this is transparent wax. There are little pots on the That's Crafty page, quite happily. And if you want to seal this, then just rub on your wax over the top, rub it in, and it will give you a wax surface instead of varnishing it. And the other secret, the nice thing about these, is it smells beautiful. It really does smell beautiful. And that's transparent. So rub it in, let it dry, and you'll have a soft touch waxed surface, and it smells lovely. So what other colours do I happen to have? I don't have all of these. They have a white wax. What would you use white wax for? Wow. Let me take my clock. It works brilliantly onto coloured air dry clay. I'm not allowed to show the project I've used that on. It's because it was done for a Pentart design team challenge, so you'll have to watch their page, and at some point, but I'm not going to promise when because I don't know, then the project that I've done for a challenge with them will be shown, and that will help with what's going on. There we are. So she says hitting her computer screen, as you do, and this will wipe back. So if you're doing this on a piece of wood that you've added mouldings to, you get a very, very shabby effect by just adding it. It feels soft and almost soft and silky to touch compared to the unwaxed surface, and it smells beautiful, and that colour will stay, and the smell certainly sits around for a good many weeks. It's just very pleasant. It's not overtly citrus, it's just a nice smell. Now then, I might not have the best base for this one, so let me take, so I'm going to do it on the coloured one because I think again it will help, and these are not quite impossible to get over here. Dali may have some of them. She tends to use a lot, or has in the past used lots and lots and lots of the brown, so she may not have that in stock, but again, it's watch this space because I will bring them to Sally Telly bit by bit over the next year. And Pentart are definitely looking for a distributor in the UK, so hopefully, so this is dark brown wax, same product but just dark brown. You could use your Umbra patina, so and I've deliberately chosen this soft, the paler area over here, and you can wipe it back so you've got an antiqued effect. And this is probably more cost effective than the Umbra patina, but it's horses for courses because you can't use this on your fine line crackle, whereas you can use your Umbra antique wax on there. So the products in Pentart have primarily been developed to work for people who want to upcycle upcycle furniture, decorate their houses, do some paper craft, make some resin. You know, people, they've been designed deliberately to work across lots of different ranges, and they will do lots of different things. My preference is always, if I'm painting on fabric, my preference is always to get a proper fabric medium paint, because I think that the multi-surface ones tend to end up with a stiffer fabric at the end of it. Not the same true the other side. So pick your products, learn what they do, have a play, mix and match and layer them, and get used to the lots of techniques. On the Pentart page, if you go into their pages, then there are videos with subtitles in English that will show you exactly how to use each of the products they have. No problem, Dee. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope that the baby ducklings in the pond are okay, and that the drake is not being an absolute pain to Mum. So, Margaret, I don't control what Create and Craft get in, but currently we have one 1 hour show a month, and it's impossible to get everything in for all of those shows. So I do have an input into the show lineups, so I'm gradually and will continue to gradually work through all of the different products that that Pentart have. And my intention for those shows is to work through different types of product bit by bit, so that people can build a Pentart library of products for the different techniques. So I think that's all I have to say for today. So I really like that, Jill. The crackle stuff is what I'm wanting, and the bonding glue too. They're what I'm wanting. I really do love the effects you get. So Stacey, that's Crafty have the bonding fluid in, and also the white crackle paste, the black crackle paste, and the fine line crackle, and I think they also have the universal crackle. Dali Art may have some of those in. I haven't checked her website in the last few days, but last time I looked, she'd got oddment bits and pieces rather than a full range of things, but always worth a try. Denise, I Love Mixed Media, may have some in, may not, and Leanne at Mad Arches may also have them. I like the daubers you use. Are they from That's Crafty? If you mean these, then no, then they are literally cut and dry foam. So they're a range of products. Bear with. So they're a range of product. They're this one, the cut and dry foam. Comes as a bigger A4 sheet, and literally all I do is cut a strip and then chop it up, and you can dunk them into water and wash them back through. So let me pop those ones that I've got into there, and you can reuse them. If you don't dunk them into water with the lasurgels, they will go crispy, and then it's more difficult to reuse them again. But I tend to find those. I know you can buy, daubers on little plastic little plastic holders, but I'm trying desperately to avoid using lots of plastic that isn't recyclable, and I've tried them and I take the ends off them because I use them so much. And the other plus side of this is, on the other side you can heat this and push things into it and make your own custom stamp. So, and then when you don't want that stamp anymore, you just reheat it and it flattens out. So it's a dual purpose product, if that makes sense. So have a hunt on your local stores for cut and dry foam. It's stocked by lots of people, and the well-known River company also will, I'm sure, have lots of that in place for us. So that's it for this week. Oh heck, hopefully mine's coming today. Well, I'm glad you bought from the show. I have to say we had a cracking show, and whilst whilst I don't want to be sorry about things, the bottom line is that if you don't buy from Create and Craft, and the shows hit their target sales, then they will pull the products. So it's a tough one, isn't it? Support your local companies, absolutely, yes please, in every which way possible, but equally if we don't support Create and Craft by buying something from them, then they will eventually not be able to afford their airtime and the cost. So really difficult. You have to make your own decisions for your own for your own reasons. So hunt around. I think that when they're on air, they're usually at a ridiculously good price on Create and Craft, and our retailers can't compete very well with those. But if they haven't got them, and in between shows, or you need replacement products because you've used something up, then our smaller shops must be supported as much as well. So next week, if anyone has any suggestions as to what they might like to use, then please message me, put a comment on here, and I will go back through the post later on. You can personally message me, and if no one does, I'll have a think about what products I might want to use, and if I don't fancy just doing a product, I might do a little project. We'll just have to see where we go. So that's all for now, ladies and gentlemen. Take care, have a good day, and please remember to stay safe with whatever you're up to. Bye.